All right. So, what was it no, 2 weeks ago, I'm playing around with the stock market, right?
Hmm.
And honestly, I used to do E-Trade and I used to do some other stuff. And I realized that Cash App, you can actually use your Cash App funds and you can buy stocks and you can buy Bitcoin with Cash App.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm playing around with it. And some of the stuff that I always invested in was a little more traditional. I learned my lesson back in 2000, the end of 2008, early 2009, where I bought a whole bunch of traditional stuff and I got hammered. But um, I think that actually developed a muscle, like a mental muscle where just because the traders are telling you what's going good or going bad, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, but they're only giving you the information that they can actually share because they're regulated, right?
Right. Yeah. They can't. Yeah. They can't only give you so much.
Right. So my dumb butt went and bought a whole bunch of GM in like the summer of 2008.
Mm. Oh,
And
back when they were doing the Hummers and everything like that, they had all the big cars.
yeah, so
And
everyone was talking about the economy's not doing that great. President Obama had just got elected in November. And I'm like, yeah, we're good. We're fine. They'll never let GM fail. Never. And I don't think it was, February before they're like, oh, yeah,
bailout.
GM is done. They're done. And not only did they not honor, so I lost in the market. I lost big in the market with GM. And then I was like, well, they're at least going to, GMAC, which is their financial side, their funding side, they're going to at least offer the stockholders at least first option to buy back in to try to recoup what they lost. And they did none of it. Like they didn't even think about us.
Right. They closed the door. They're like, they got that stimulus money. They got themselves back in the green, and that was all they thought about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what's funny, and that's why I asked you to come on tonight, is what was it? So let me rewind. So we're now the 17th of March, 2020. We are now seeing a global epidemic with a virus that has spread pretty much to every continent.
Hmm.
Um, let me ask you before we go too far. I mean, what's your opinion on this virus? Is it a real thing? Is it? I mean, obviously people are getting sick. Obviously people are dying from it, and there's different demographics of people, but especially in our market, I live in Washington, D.C. I know you live in the same area.
Hmm.
So we're now seeing, just as of the last few days, um, sit-down restaurants have been ordered to close both in Maryland and in the District of Columbia. I
Hmm.
don't think Virginia is too far behind. The
Right.
schools have been closed for the next 2 weeks,
Hmm. At
um,
least.
at least, at least, right? So I see a lot of, I mean, and I don't want to make it sound like a scare tactic, but I think we all kind of owe each other at least a little bit of gratitude, a little common decency to say, hey, this virus has actually been proven now to be spread by human contact, by not washing your hands, by going out, shaking hands in public, touching other surfaces, and then you accidentally or sometimes um, deliberately your eye itches, so you go scratch your face,
Mm.
and they've proven now that you're able to contract this. But I see a lot of, especially on social media, and trust me, I'm not a scaredy cat. I'm
Hmm.
not the one that's going to sit back and say, "Oh, so and so said this," and I'm going to believe it. But I'm also not a scientist, and I'm also not a doctor. And every doctor and every scientist that I've heard from has said you have to be very, very careful. So I just want to know what's your take on it?
I think I concur. I mean, I think at the end of the day, this just kind of highlighted, after say the last recession, I think the workforce went into this mode where you just had jobs kind of played to be thankful for a job. You got to work, work, work. and you really weren't worrying about your health so much, you got to get to work, hook or crook. You send your kids to school sick. You went to work sick. It wasn't a second thought.
Right.
With this being a new strain, I mean, like, again, at the end of the day, people are still catching pneumonia like left, right, and center and dying quickly.
Mhm.
So, and with this pandemic issue, it's just like they don't quite have the answer for it, but they do know it's spreading. And they do know that if someone has health issues, this is more than the human body can handle on top of additional health issues. Um,
Right.
so I think that, in essence, they have to take it seriously, because it's like, if you look at the news, it's like a lot of people are dying in Italy for real. But if you look at the area that the people are dying at and their age, they are a lot higher. So it is
Mhm.
one of those situations where it's like, okay, we got to learn some new habits. We got to learn some new habits.
Right.
Um, it's funny, I've been teleworking, self-employed for a while, and been able to move around. But it's just funny now how, like, all of a sudden these options are more available when they were always here. But it's just like, I think it's just a change in the workforce mentality. Um, but at the same time, I think that it's one of those opportunities where it's almost like when you get fired from a job and you finally get to do what you had in your back pocket or in the back of your mind that you wanted to do.
Mhm.
This is really kind of the opportunity. I mean, this is the opportunity to take some time out to read up on information. I mean, the internet is wide open. You can literally study it, just about anything, and get versed enough that you can have an opportunity to play. So, I mean,
Right.
we might not be able to work in the physical contact that we're used to, but there's still opportunity to learn, expand your business horizon, because really what we're trying to do is we're trying to pause everybody from what they say on TV, pause
Mhm.
everybody, keep everybody away from each other. Because I looked at the CDC thing for Maryland. The cases in Maryland aren't astronomical, but like the cases in New York are. But when I was looking at the thing today, they're concentrated New Rochelle, some parts of Brooklyn,
Mhm.
and then there's a little bit dots. So it's just a matter of, I mean, here Montgomery County's got some like 24 cases. I think PG had 17. Baltimore County had 1. So I mean, it's just a matter of, I think it's extra caution.
Yeah.
It's just that it's unusual that we had the whole country stop at one time, and that's where it becomes untenable. And now we're just realizing where, as much as the media says everybody's doing okay, but at the end of the day, if we're a hospitality area and everybody's working in sports arenas or bartending or service industries, and I can no longer provide those services,
Yeah.
it's really, really, really tough. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't telework as a bartender. You can't telework as a cook.
Right.
um, so can businesses switch over? Yeah, we can get a couple cooks in there, and they can maybe switch to online, some delivery and use DoorDash. But still, the Uber
Right.
drivers still got to go out there in the street. So I mean, but there are ways that they can modify a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of, we can take this 2-week holiday. I think it's like, call it, and treat it more like a mental health or a self improvement time, where it's like, look, I can start really exploring and mapping out what are some of the things that I'm really interested in that are outside of my job. Because a job,
Yeah.
you have no control. So you have to really take this opportunity. It's like, I no longer have control on when or when I can go to work because of global circumstances. But
Right.
if you find some ways of diversifying yourself, you now have an opportunity to at least offset that instability. So, at the end of the day, I learned that from the last recession. You got to put your eggs in a few different baskets in order to
Mm.
offset the reality that one thing is going to go, one thing's going to drop. I mean, and that's just the way life is. Nothing goes perfect 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But if I have my risk spread out over a couple of different things, I can weather a storm. I mean, a hiccup is a hiccup, but I'm not going to be desolate if I lose everything all at one time.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think that's true. And I've even semi been paying attention to how the current administration has been kind of nudging at a couple ideas where they're talking about, even as of this evening, talking about possibly sending U.S. workers, kind of like a stimulus, a $1,000 check to kind of
Mhm.
hold them over. And I mean, I hate to be the entrepreneur, but I laugh at it.
Because it's like, yeah, because it's like, that's really not going to do. But it almost sounds like what is new is what is old, because I was like, wasn't there like a presidential campaign dude that was some tech guy that was talking about, oh yeah, just give our American $1,000. That's like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's so simplistic. I mean, if you really want to do something, I mean, the RNC, DNC, and any other political party, the millions of dollars they spend on all these negative campaigns and ads,
Yeah.
is more than enough to. I mean, literally, the advertising budget for this political season is more than enough to kind of help most Americans. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just weird where our priorities are at the same time. It's still, if you listen to the news, it's still politics as usual. It's the red versus the blue. Or, well, we're going to get all our red guys together. We're not going to talk to the blue because we got to get our act together and figure out what we want. And, so it's still priorities are in the wrong place, I think, overall. But, I try not to get caught up in that, too much, because at the end of the day, we still got to put, food on the table, take care of our families, and live and try to live our lives, to the fullest possible.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and that's kind of what prompted me to say, hey, I really do want to go live today. As you and I were just talking about, in the past, I was the guy who knew how to do my business. I knew how to perform in my business. I knew how to kind of, in a sense, manage the financials of the business. But I was also the worker bee in the business. But I never had bad credit.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have much credit. And I used to always say, well, I don't understand why they're turning me down. I don't understand why I'm showing, the proper net return, the proper gross return. The business is continually growing from, now it's from 2004 to 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I showing not only the consistency, but I'm also at the same time showing the growth of the business? And banks are looking at it like, well, yeah, I don't know. And it was only a few years ago that I ended up realizing that, as crazy as it might sound, I wasn't asking for enough money. And I've heard people say it, but I can be a personal testament, is if you only need like 10,000 or 20,000, do not ask for it, because that's an automatic red light to them.
Mm-hmm.
That you're probably, I don't want to say on the end of the business, but if you
got issues, yeah, right. You got issues.
Need $10,000 or $20,000 and you're running a business, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I learned that, thankfully, from Bank of America, and I tried to apply. I think I applied for $40,000 or $50,000, and they were nice about it, but they pretty much laughed me out of the bank, and they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll let you know in a couple weeks." And of course, I got declined. But I learned kind of through trial and error, and that's why I wanted to share with some folks that even if you're new in business, it's okay to ask for possibly, I don't know, 100,000, 150,000, because most banks are actually going to do, in a sense, like a debt to income ratio. So they're going to say, well, okay, your business, I don't know, your net profit, your take home, what you actually earned as a business is 50,000. They're still only going to loan you like 60 to 70% of that at most.
Right. I mean, usually if you take your annual revenue, you're looking at maybe say 20%, but even sometimes getting up to that $100,000 sometimes isn't a matter of putting it all in one bank. So a lot of the strategies I do with customers, both starting companies and growing companies, like, well, if I set you up with 3 lenders and get you 30 or 40 from here, or 15 from there, or 25 from there, and I got you 75. All it's the same way banks go into real estate deals. They don't all put 100% of their money in. They syndicate. They grab from different sources. So as a small business owner, I have to find out, how do I syndicate in my credit life? So I'm gonna grab offers from and build up these relationships with multiple lenders in order to increase my leverage. So if Bank A doesn't like me today, guess what? I still got Bank B and C still riding with me.
Yeah.
One of the things I was telling people, like before everything's really shutting down for real, is the fact that this is the time for you to call your credit card companies and ask for credit line increases.
Yep.
Because this is the reality. Even people who say, I got perfect credit, I got low balances, I don't want to use my credit cards, but realistically, we got to understand that we're in a hiccup that's going to last at least a quarter. So if you're talking about 90 days, so if you are going to use your credit, and let's say your expenses are $5,000 a month, and you charge $5,000 and have to use your credit card to kind of get you through the next 90 days, your scores are going to drop to 500.
Yep.
Because your utilization is now capped at 90 or 100%. So to the bank, you're in risk of default. So if I already know that potentially my household bills run X amount of dollars, realistically, it behooves you to get double the amount of money that you're ever going to use. So that way you could still use your credit for the things you need to get you through the storm, but get the maximum benefit because now your debt utilization ratio stays within the 35 to 50% range that credit card companies like. And so now you have opportunities that no matter what, you could still be able to tap into more capital. So I think a lot of people underestimate how much capital, how much credit they need to float with before. Yeah. And then I've seen a lot of people like, oh, I got this one car for $25K, but as soon as you run up $20K on it, you can't get any more credit. But if you had two cards at $20K and put 10 on each card, guess what? You can go out and get a third card. So it's just a matter of understanding what banks look for to help the funding process go along. Because at the end of the day, we want to show the banks we have the ability to pay debt over time. And we also want to make sure that we stay within their magical parameters. So this way we get the best FICO score possible. So like when you were first in business, even though you were cash flowing well, because we didn't demonstrate that, hey, I could pay large sums of debt back over in a timely fashion, they were like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna give you that right now. But it's like, look, I could afford the loan, but you didn't prove the loan. You like the cash in the bank was good, but the credit score is better.
Yep. Yeah. No, and I mean, I've even found that. So, I guess for the people watching that aren't in business for themselves, they might not understand when I say what a Paydex is.
Paydex, right?
I've found what the Paydex. So Paydex, for you guys that don't know, it's basically your FICO, which is your personal credit score. What it's based on. Your Paydex is actually your business credit score. Is how you're able to manage and pay down the debt that you create, the credit that you apply for, you get approved for, and then how you're able to manage that. The issue with the Paydex that I found is that most creditors, whether it's a bank, a private lender, most of them don't report it. And the reason being is Paydex actually charges these institutions for them to post whether Chris Van Buren is managing his debt and paying down his debt. So like if I looked at it from a lender, I'm like, well, Chris Van Buren, of course, he pays his debt, but I'm not going to pay you guys to report the fact that he does this. So it's on us kind of as a business owner to learn now that we actually have to learn how to go in and manage our Paydex score. And we can report that stuff. We can upload statements. We can say, hey, we started out with, $50,000 on an equipment loan. And over 3 years, we paid that down to, 40% of it. And we only owe 30-some thousand or 20-some thousand of the 50. And they'll report it because they'll take those statements and then say, okay, well, we'll verify it. And then they actually will post that. But no one ever told me that in business.
Right,
well, what's your Paydex?
Right. And then even that, like, let's say I started out as a one person corporation, and then all of a sudden over a number of years, I now have 3, 5, 10, employees I've built up. Reporting that information to DUNS and to Paydex, like, hey, I got more employees, gives you, these are all little things that give you little bumps in your score index, because it's like, oh, he's got people that he's concerned for. And most business owners that have employees, tend to be stable because because now there's other people's lives that are depending on you staying in business. And it also provides proof of stability that you're not the likelihood to get up and run when the going gets tough, because again, you got mouths that are dependent on you. So
Sure.
it's a lot of like little nuances, knowing which accounts to get. I mean, and it's really simple. I mean, you can start out with simple as buying stuff with Quill, buying stuff with Uline. Like it's, you're doing that and then buying stuff on a net 30 term, even though you can go in the store and pay for it cash. I'm ordering from Quill, and I might not get the Walmart discount, but me paying in cash in Walmart isn't helping my business credit. But me buying this toilet paper from Quill and having it delivered to me and paying it off when I get the invoice is building up my positive history. And then next thing you know, I'm getting Staple cards, or I'm getting Apple cards, or I'm getting Dell cards, and then I can get a Home Depot card, and then it just starts snowballing. But a lot of people don't realize that you just got to change how you move your money. I mean, a lot of people's like, oh, I'm still going to pay with cash, or I'm going to use my debit card. Like, no, put it on your business credit card, pay it back off, show that pattern, like show that cash flow pattern. And it's just simple, but just people maybe aren't used to moving money that way. They just think, oh, I'll just pay it from here. Like, why should I waste my time? But I'm like, you're missing the payment history. You're missing the points that you can get, or the rewards you can get by building up this business profile, because that's what other credit card companies look at. If all of a sudden they see you, charging up and paying down and charging up and paying down, that's suddenly notice like, oh, we just increased your limit $2,500. You start getting credit card offers that are like, click here and they're sending you a $20,000 card, because banks are in competition with each other to give out money.
Yep.
If I see that you got, if Navy Federal gave you 5 and you managing that 5,000 real good, the next banks want to give you 10, because they want you to hopefully stop going to Navy and start using their card more. They want you to balance transfer your Navy debt over to them, and they become the ones that start receiving that candy. Right. So if we understand that it's a leapfrog type of effect, I mean, at the end of the day, we still got to pay our bills. So when I tell people to get credit or a mass capital, this is not the Louis Vuitton store. This isn't worldwide travel. This is access to capital to make revenue generating moves only. We're going to pay everything back. We want to manage what we have out there, but we want to have the ability to pay things over a timely fashion. So this way we can get maximum leverage. I have the 10 grand in the bank. I'm going to charge a certain amount of things. I know I can pay that off in a certain amount of time, but I'm going to make a couple of payments because I want that track record. I want them to see that, he's doing this type of volume, because then they're just going to offer me more. They're going to offer me the ability to get more money. Yeah. And then now with a downturn like this, between cash saved in the bank, available credit that you have, that one can have available, you can weather the storm, like, because you realize, look, it's going to be a hiccup for everybody, but I don't have to sweat bullets, because I know, hey, I got enough leverage to pay my bills on time and have time to pay them down. And when the economy gets back into play and things get back to normal, I could be more aggressive about paying the debt down at that time. And so there's a lot of opportunities in this market. I mean, unfortunately, there will be a lot of companies that will go out of business. They're just not ready for it. But there are also going to be a lot of entrepreneurs that are going to be sitting in the wings and buying up businesses that, all of a sudden, if you have a printing business and your competitor printer business is going out of business, but they got equipment that they're selling for pennies on the dollar, guess what? You're going to increase your net worth in your business. But I mean, so it's sad for one person, but there's an opportunity for someone else. It's just a matter of where are you at on that seesaw? Like, are you on the buying side, or are you going to be on the selling side?
Right.
And it takes planning.
Right. So you mentioned something, and I'll go back a little bit, but for those of us that those of you that are watching, what Chris said, maybe you could kind of go back and explain a little bit. You mentioned something about balance transfer. So I'm a small business guy, and maybe I have that one credit card. I don't know. Wells Fargo gave me a credit card. I got $5,000 limit. I know that's not enough to run my business, but you're telling me that, the banks are competing for my business. So I go over across the street to, I don't know, Wachovia, and Wachovia says, well, how much do you have, at your previous bank? And you show them a statement, and you show them that over the last 6 months or 12 months or whatever, you've been able to max out, pay down, max out, pay down. And now Wachovia wants to offer you a $10,000 card. What do?
I'm gonna look at the terms because the interesting about balance transfer
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that generally you get an introductory rate of 0% anywhere from 6 months to 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
So if you understand that most credit cards, if you don't have like super preferred credit cards, you're probably at 24-25% interest rate. So now all of a sudden you could take that $5,000 and balance transfer it over to your new card at 0% interest, and then literally every payment you're making at that point is interest free for up to 18 months. So you're literally dollar for dollar paying down your debt and cutting off that 24% APR that you were paying on your main card. More than likely, Wachovia is probably going to even give you a better rate on the card than your Wells Fargo card, because guess what? They want your business. What's going to happen later on? More than likely, once you pay off the Wells Fargo's like, hey, we want to give you 15,000. So it's just an interesting game if you understand how it do it. So you could actually have debt, transfer it to another vehicle, wipe away the interest on it, and then pay down the principal and still have revolving credit. And you can keep on building and stacking in that same fashion. So, you don't have to pay the 24% because there will always be there's always a card that's going to come out when you're managing your credit well, that's going to give you a 0% for at least 6 months, at least a year. 6 months to a year is average. I'm seeing 18 months now, and more than likely with this Corona, they're probably going to increase that more because, again, they want to keep the credit markets liquid.
Well, I mean, they also just quote unquote stimulated the economy from the Fed with $1.5 trillion to help stimulate the market.
Yeah.
And I laugh because I'm in printing, but I'm like, they just made up a bunch of money. They just created whatever you wanted to do.
It's like magic. It's like, it's like, hey, guess what we got? 1 point something trillion. How am I gonna pay for it? We'll figure it out later. I mean, it's
no, I mean, I laugh because I'm kind of new to the finance side. I mean, I've always been in business, but as far as looking at it from the perspective of a financier, of a bank lender, of whatever, I am kind of new to it. I thought I kind of understood it, and then I got inside and was like, wait a minute. Money actually isn't backed by anything. And I've heard it for 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. I heard it in college. I heard Robert Kiyosaki come out and say, well, money has been worth absolutely nothing since they removed it from the gold standard. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I didn't understand what he was saying, but he's right. It's not backed by anything. So we're lending most of the businesses, most of the people in this country, kind of like a digit that gets transferred amongst some virtual bank account.
Mm-hmm. Just slides to the left, slides to the right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the nature of digital transactions. I mean, and it's just it's just the way the economy is right now. I mean, mm-hmm. It's perceived value, not necessarily actual value. So really, value at the end of the day is what somebody's willing to pay for it. So that's why you can find a classic car and someone will pay, $100,000 for a car that when it came out was only worth 17. Mm-hmm. But it's values in the eyes of the beholder. But yes, money can literally be printed out of thin air. But eventually, that has its own downfall as well. They can only do it for so long before it just jacks everything up. But but I just think like right now it's just people, it's just a matter of kind of leveraging things. I mean, right now most people can contact their gyms, their cables, their utilities, and say, hey, look, I'm affected due to coronavirus. They're going to make concessions. We don't know all the concessions are going to be made with the stimulus package over the next, weeks or months that are coming up. But literally putting in the phone call saying, hey, look, I see trouble behind the bend. Let's come up with a plan now. I mean, Pepco and Washington Gas already have programs for people who, hey, we can itemize your bill, we can put it on the back, we can spread it out over a number of terms. So it's just now is the time to not work in the sense of fear, like, oh my God, what I'm going to do. What you do is get on the phone, make the phone calls. You already know things are changing. So why not make the phone call now, pull out the plan, get confirmation and say, well, look, I'm going to need some window. I'm going to need some window of opportunity to, my paycheck's going to be, severely impacted. We all know anybody that's ever got an unemployment check know that ain't your whole check. So this is the time to make those phone calls and start laying out your plan to protect your financial health. Because otherwise you're gonna pull your hair out, and you don't have to. When you be like, look, don't get scared, be proactive. So that's my main thing for people. I mean, and for people who have relatively good scores, I'm talking 660, 680. It doesn't hurt to call your companies and say, oh, look, give me credit card, increases. It might be a good time right now to, find one of them cards out there that are giving you 18% on balance, 18%, 0% interest on balance transfer. So transfer your, debt into another format that you're no longer paying interest on it, and still have the ability to pay on time. So again, increasing your net cash flow because you're not paying interest and you're really tackling debt. So at the same time, we're always working on keeping the debt low, but we got to move the debt around and make sure that we're maximizing the cash that we do have on hand. So it's really come up with a plan. I mean, don't be scared to plan, put it into action. I mean, when I think about it, our grandparents didn't have 24-hour TV.
No.
Didn't have internet.
No.
They read books. They told stories. They played games. We will. I mean, like, what I'm saying, we can literally get through this. I mean, so I know we got a little bit lazy with technology, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna kill us. I mean, there's no need to run up and buy 20,000 rolls of toilet paper.
You're right.
Dude, right. Like, you still, I mean, most people are regular. I was laughing with somebody. I was like, most people are regular. You go in the morning, you take a shower. You go at night, take a shower. I mean, it's like, this isn't rocket science. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, and I think you're right too. I mean, when you're talking about parents and grandparents, they didn't have the instant gratification. But I think also, for me, what's dangerous is everybody who posts something now becomes the next expert. Nothing has been vetted. Nothing has been tested. I mean, like this whole theory of science might not know exactly what's going on. And I'm like, well, that's what science is. Science is when you learn of something, you study it, you test it, you then vet that information, you then test that again, and it becomes factual because it's now been vetted and tested over time, over a period of time. And people are denying the fact of science. And I'm not talking about just about this coronavirus, but just in general. Whether it be climate change or anything. It's like, guys, the whole point of science is that they're studying, they're receiving the information, calculating the information, testing that again, and then verifying the information. So I think kind of what I brought you on tonight for also is some of the lending programs that you are able to provide people. And I'm gonna share my screen so we can kind of just go by on your website the different programs. But I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think most people are not business owners, and if they are new business owners. And even if they're new business owners, they might not have done their due diligence to structure the business, whether it be a LLC or a corporation or whatever it may be. So if you want to start with maybe what you all provide for someone who has a business, they're operating as a business, but they're not necessarily structured as a business.
I think one of the key things, the most important thing is having a business checking account. Initially, a lot of people might start as a DBA, but that really doesn't protect you at the end of the day because you and the business is the same person. So you do want to have a corporate entity, LLC, S Corp. Again, I'm not an attorney, not legal advice, but you want to have an entity that separates you from your business. So if something should happen, they can attack that entity they can't come after you per se within certain parameters.
Okay.
With the markets changing right now, unfortunately, certain sectors are definitely going to take a hit from the funding world.
Mm-hmm.
Hotels, airlines, transportation, food services,
Yeah.
daycares. These are all used to be like prime time, like a fund all day, every day.
Yeah.
Right now, because everybody knows that all those companies are going to take a hit, the funding programs aren't as plentiful in those areas. But
Okay.
other companies are doing well, pharmaceuticals, so there is a slight curve. So I think realistically, I would kind of go back to, if you have the credit scores that warrant it, looking at trying to get some unsecured credit lines, try to get those 0% interest rate cards,
Yeah.
bundle a couple of those together just to give you an opportunity to kind of just trot through and at least be able to keep the expenses going, keep your lights on until you can get to a better time. I mean, 'cause literally, if it's 0% and you only got to pay 5% of the outstanding balance every month, you should be able to kind of maybe wing that through.
Okay.
So that would be where I would push most people. Equipment financing, it really depends on industry. I would say the one market that isn't as heavily as affected is real estate. There's a lot of opportunities still in the real estate market. There's new programs for people who own properties and may have had a hard money to do the rehab. I've got companies now that will come in and give you fixed term financing for 30 years on buy and hold situations. So
Okay.
it's just a matter of kind of just looking where the cheese is moving.
Sure.
Type of. For people who have some assets in the bank, there's new credit line programs for real estate investors, where basically you show, say, $35,000 to $50,000 worth of assets, you're getting 10x that in an available credit line. And there's some terms on how you use your money. So
Okay.
there's still there's a lot of opportunities still in real estate, because at the end of the day, real estate don't go away. I mean, prices may go down, but the real estate don't disappear. The ground don't go anywhere.
Sure.
So there's definitely opportunity. There's definitely big opportunities there. On the equipment side, so if you have like technology, like computers, where you want to kind of maybe set up a teleworking kind of community within your job, there is some maybe room to do that, where you can bundle and buy some equipment and then distribute that out to your workforce. So I think it's just a matter of
Mm-hmm.
thinking on different lines. The merchant cash advance is going to be hard right now. I think that's going to be a slow down industry, just because the way merchant cash advances work, you have to pay back daily. And if companies aren't generating revenue, they can't pay back the daily payment.
So
So I
is
think,
that, not to cut you off, is that something similar where, let's say I'm a merchant and I process $1,000 today, then they actually replenish part of what I borrowed from whatever I processed the day before?
correct.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Well, if no one's going to a retail store or a restaurant, or if we're quarantined to be inside,
There's
then
no credit, there's no cash flow coming in. So the
right.
MCA market is more than likely, if you're in business now, you could probably get a pause. I mean, you can, look at some structure,
Mhm.
but they're really going to look at your month-to-date statements. But the window's shrinking every day.
Yeah.
So I would say by the end of this month, by the time they really start shutting stuff down, MCAs are going to be frozen until everybody goes back to work. Because until people start spending money, nothing's going to happen. And I think that's goes back to the federal government
Yeah.
wanting the stimulus package. It's like, we don't need payroll tax, because we need we need consumers spending money. We need people back in restaurants. We need people back in movie theaters. We need
Right.
people back in Vegas and all these things. So people need money in order to spend money. So I think that's going to be a different thing.
Yeah.
For traditional businesses, and I'm learning a little bit more about that now. I'm not 100% versed in it, but the SBA is going to be definitely for owner-occupied businesses. There's definitely going to be some SBA opportunities.
Sure.
I would just warn business owners, just be careful, because you will probably have a lot of new consultants and new jack consultants coming in trying to hit you with upfront fees and
Yeah.
might not know what they're doing. So, I just think, I'm researching it myself so that way I can, hopefully in the future present it to an audience. Say, okay, well, these are the things you can look out for. But that will be a avenue. But understand that's going to be a lot of red tape. You're still going to have. They're probably still going to be looking for credit, income, assets. So it's if you're barely getting by, the SBA is not going to be a bailout for you because they're looking for. They want to lend money to solvent businesses, you know what I'm saying, that are only experiencing a hiccup because this happened, not businesses that were on their last leg
Yeah.
looking for money. So that's just kind of the balance there. Let's see what else we have over here.
Vendor credit.
So that was building up your business credit, Uline, Quill. So understand that you could, hey, everybody's running out of toilet paper. You can order toilet paper, Lysol products, and have Quill deliver it to you, and they'll give you 30 days to pay it off.
Yeah.
So again, a way of getting credit for the money you're spending anyway. I mean, you can buy everything from there, trash cans, just like little office essentials. It doesn't seem like a lot, but all you're really looking to as a business owner is like, I'm buying trash bags anyway. Why don't I get credit for buying these trash bags? So it's just a matter of understanding anything I do in business, I want to get credit for doing it. If I spend $1, I want the credit because I spent that dollar.
Sure.
And so that's what vendor credit. So vendor credit is like the easiest thing for most people to do. And I really think coming out of this system, we'll probably go more back into that kind of bartering. Like, hey, Chris, I'm doing such and such thing. Could we do this particular type of project for me? And could you give me a couple of days to get it back open? Businesses are going to have to make some of those type of concessions because if nobody's had money at the same time, we're going to have a little bit of faith with each other.
Sure.
So I definitely think the vendor business to business arena will definitely maybe start exploding. Let's trade services. Like, hey, I can help you with this. You can help me with that. I think that barter and vendor system is definitely going to be something that's going to help people get through that next phase. Then what do we got? We got investing.
Microloans and investors.
Microloans is the same as MCA. Yeah, right now, if so, microloans are for companies that are making less than $5,000 a month in revenue, and unfortunately, in today's climate, that's probably going to be on pause too for another 90 days. I mean, those are like the really small loans, but it's going to be too much a risk. I mean, if you're barely making it through at $5,000. It's going to be tough. You're better off trying to make sure your credit's right and getting credit cards. I mean, literally, or trying to get approved for a term loan or something like that. It would be a much better thing. And in investors, like I said, real estate's not going anywhere.
Right.
So this is the opportunity. Hey, we can't drive around so much, but there's a lot of Chris and I are on a bunch of different boards. There's a lot of real estate talk on Facebook. I got a couple of realtors that are doing virtual tours. They take really good pictures of these houses.
I mean, I have a good friend of mine. He's a real estate agent that I actually work with on a couple transactions. And as of this past Saturday or Sunday, he is publicly stated that he is on self-quarantine. He does not want to be one of the people that either is infected by or potentially spreads, this virus that has come into our community. And he is virtually doing real estate as a real estate agent, a licensed agent. He's doing it from his living room. He's sitting on his computer. He's scheduling appointments. There's a couple other people on his team that are out in the marketplace and they're willing to do the showings for him. But he's still managing. I mean, it's only been less than a week now, but he's still managing his business sitting in his living room on his laptop.
I mean, and technology is there. I mean, some of the better realtors are going to have their professional photographers come in and do. I got people in Keller Williams. When you see these virtual tours, I mean, literally, you look at the pictures, it guides you through the entire house. Now, you won't get all the nooks and crannies, but you have a fair idea of what you're dealing with. So you could. I think the key is, we know there's a pause, but that doesn't mean I don't do preparation. So I think
Right.
that's really my
Right.
key thing is prepare for, lay your groundwork, do the grunt work now while this quiet. You have less distractions. You're not worried about, oh, I wanted to get into real estate, but I'm running a job and I'm doing this. You have quiet time right now. Late,
Yep.
start looking, start learning, start jumping on forums, start getting
Yep.
involved, start learning the terminology. So that way, when things get back to normal, you can start making some moves like, oh, I'm gonna follow up on that property, or I've seen enough that when I see another opportunity, I could jump on it and make that decision because I've had a chance to get a feel to that marketplace.
Right.
So that's what I really think people should be focused on. Like, take this opportunity and find out what you want to do. Hey, if you want to, if you want to do life insurance, hey, you could do your life insurance exam online. I mean, the bartender's certification is an online it's an online, to get tip certified is online. So
Yeah.
utilize that. There's a lot of knowledge that you can use during this period of time that can arm you, that if your job isn't there when you get back to work, you can pivot because you've done the homework.
Yep.
Don't sit around and just wait like, oh, now my job's in, like, what do I do? No, prepare. Like, what happens if my job ain't here tomorrow? What am I going to do?
Exactly.
I'm doing it now. The last several days, I'm still booking calendar appointments. I'm still
Mhm.
doing my data mining. I'm still sending out emails. I'm still making phone calls and planning. Okay, well, look, I'm planting seeds right now because I know,
Mhm.
hey, people still need information. So let's get all this information. Let's get this rapport build up so that once everything's clear, we can jump right into let's make money stage.
Right.
I don't have to build a rapport after everything's done. No, I'm building a rapport now, setting my stage that when everybody's ready to get back out in the world, there'll be a bunch of us that can move and take advantage of the things that we're doing because we were prepared for what was going to happen after we come from this
Yeah.
self-isolation situation.
Right. Right. No, I mean, like, even for me, and you brought up a good point. So I posted it on Facebook yesterday that even in this financial crisis, even in the fact that the government is telling people to stay at home, keep your social distance, some of which I really completely agree with, because we've seen, it's not like fiction. It's proof that this virus is being contracted.
Right.
It's being
Jumping from people to people.
jumping from people to people. So I have been at the shop every day. I haven't been there all day, but I've been able to get up, have my coffee, go from my house to the shop, sanitize when I get to the shop, do the little bit, and I emphasize the little bit of we have,
Right.
do that, and then I'm gone. The last 2 days, I've been gone by 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Mhm.
And a couple people said, "Oh, I came by. You guys had already left." Well, it was just me because no one's up. No one else has been working.
Mhm.
You can text me, Facebook message me, email me, and what I plan on doing, I'm trying to self-contain as much as I can, but I understand people, like, they need our service at the same time because some of the stuff that we provide is going to help them generate whatever revenue they need to still generate.
Mhm.
While we're going through this. But when I was kind of laughing at the stock market last week, and I guess it was Wednesday, it fell out of the sky. It was like 2,000 points down.
Yeah, like whoosh.
Thursday, I called BB&T. I know my local branch, and I said, "Hey, I know we have a current line of credit with the company, but did you see what happened yesterday?" And he said, "Well, not yet. Let me look at it." And by midday, the Fed had announced that they're now going to initiate a $1.5 trillion dollar stimulus, which I guess in simplest terms is the Fed is giving the bank money at between 0% and 0.25% to then lend out to the open market. I said, I need to apply for a balance increase. So Friday morning, I called BB&T. I talked to my branch manager. I told him what I wanted to do, and he laughed because he said, "That's actually a good idea because we just got an alert this morning that we're getting, X amount of approval. We're still going to lend the money today at Wall Street Prime plus, whatever point they charge."
Mhm.
But he put the app in, and at like 7 o'clock Friday night, I'm at home. Everyone's out at the grocery store buying toilet paper and everything else. And he was like, well, I just need to confirm with the underwriter what you're going to use this for. And I said, well, I'm trying to grow my business. We just learned of a stock market crash, and we are dealing with a global virus outbreak that's coming into our community. I want to make sure I have enough funding in place to finance my business to provide the products that I provide to my customers. Monday morning, which is now yesterday, they approved it. $50,000 line of credit. I went in this morning. I signed a couple pieces of paper. I didn't shake his hand. I sanitized and walked out, and I kept moving.
Right.
And I don't want to make it sound like it's so simple, but to me, it was always so difficult. So I'm gonna bring your screen back up, but I just want to show people. So let me zoom in. If you look at how your site is set up, I can actually sit here on this right-hand side. I can choose the loan amount, right?
Correct.
So I don't need a bunch. I need $5,000 because I'm kind of getting started. I am a business. I am the entity, and I want to use it for, let's do equipment, because you said now we're working from home, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might need a printer or I don't know, whatever else. You need something to work from home.
Software, like, so what
Yeah.
falls, like, so you can get cloud-based software. Some of those subscriptions can run thousands of dollars. I mean, so
True.
these are type of things that would be eligible for financing, because you could be a business, you're generating a little bit of income, and this is something that will help you generate revenue. And then basically we put in a little bit of information,
Yeah.
which is going to come to me. We're going to sit down, have a conversation. We're going to go over the particulars, and then I'm going to let you know what the best funding programs you fit into at the moment. And if you're not eligible, I'm going to give you some guidance on how to become more eligible in the future.
Okay. So, I mean, you and I have done this before, but how many years have you been in business? Monthly gross sales? What is your credit score? The desired loan amount, the purpose. I mean, we kind of explain both of those. So let's say I were to fill out this criteria. How soon would you or whomever is going to contact me, how soon could I expect a response? I mean, based on the climate we're in right now.
I mean, right now, every day I get messages from my funding sources. We're still out here lending money, so there's still money to be out there. What they are, so they're just asking for a few more layers. So they want to do a month-to-date statement. Mm-hmm. So they want to make sure you're still viable. Yep. But yes, there's still lending opportunities. Generally, I get my answers from lenders within 24 hours. Sometimes same day. I mean, literally, once I go through the criteria, I do a lot of the pre-underwriting. I do a funding assessment. I take in the data. Look, this is based off of this. These are the programs I think you're going to be available for. Then I submit them to the lender that I think that's going to fund you and give me the best terms. Okay. So you'll really have an idea off that initial phone call what I think I can get done for you, and then basically within a day or so you should have an answer on, are you approved for this particular product or not. And then we just take next steps there. Same thing with the credit line program. You try and get a credit line program, take a little bit of information, I submit it, I'm getting an answer in 24 hours. They're giving me a funding projection. We go over the agreement. They get the ball rolling. Funding can happen within 2 weeks. So a lot of these things can happen now. It's not a long drawn out process. This isn't SBA where it's going to take months and months and months for it to happen. It literally happens within a few hours. So if things are looking good right now, we could take advantage of things looking good before things start looking bad. It's a funny adage. The best time to get money is when you don't think you need it, because that's when they want to give it to you. When you need the money, trust me, everybody say no. It's like the smell of desperation is on your face, and they're like, no, he wants it too bad. We can't give it to him. But when you don't want it, they are begging you to take the money. Like, please take my money. And it's just funny how our society works, but it does work that way. It just
right.
So those are kind of the key things, but it's just real basic. Kind of going through what the situation is, having a good purpose, coming up with a good plan, and then finding the right funding solution. So that's That's
Sure.
what I'm still doing. Like this is what I do. I talk to people all day,
Yeah.
and come up with plans of how to get them the funding they need to grow their business.
Okay. So Chris, we actually have
We got some questions.
a couple questions here. Let's see. So we got a user on Facebook. What is the best strategy for auto service shop?
So auto service, service, they actually should have receivables.
Mm-hmm.
The service part of a dealership or automotive servicing is generally a decent cash cow. So that's an industry that's not going to really be infected or impacted, because the truth of the matter is, I might be broke, but if my car break down, I can't do nothing. So people get their car fixed. So I think in that industry there should be some opportunities, not only on the equipment financing. So if you want to upgrade to new equipment,
Mm-hmm.
that's a possibility. There'll definitely be some opportunities to get some business loans or some business credit lines, because those is one, auto repair shops don't move.
Right, but let's think about it though. Right now, we're at a point where we don't know if people are going to be going to work for the next month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. What could that what program could that auto shop possibly use to maybe maintain paying their mechanic not to work the next 2 or 3 months? Or, I mean, I know they're showing the receivables, but
Mhm.
would a line of credit, a business line of credit based on their net earnings, their gross earnings, would that be a program that they could potentially use to kind of not keep the doors open because no one's coming in, but to maintain what they already have?
Yeah, definitely, because then they can definitely tap into that credit line, and then hopefully by then we'll see what what packages the government may offer to the business, the small business individual. But
Yeah.
a credit line in that example is kind of that ICE deal situation, because let's say if I can float payroll or give sick leave and know that there's a process at the end of the tunnel that I can recoup some of that money, having a credit line will give you that flexibility. And you might cut back hours a little bit, but I would definitely look at doing a credit line. I think that would be a safe bet for auto services right now. Because I mean, we're not on total lockdown, so people are still moving around a little bit. I mean, I just saw a girl today saying, she was out and about, went to go get her emissions test done, and the light went off, and she had to go to the bank and get money to go pay the mechanic to to fix whatever she needed to get her emissions. So there will be some people that there's still going to be first responders. There's still going to be essential government employees. They're going to be out, and they're going to need their cars. So I mean, it'll be a dip in the business, but I think that there'll still be some business coming through the door.
Yeah. No, and I mean, for me, and so the line of credit that I mentioned that probably brought most of the people to this video, I don't need that money. Like, I'm not going to die tomorrow if I don't have that available funding. But I'm not paying attention to the hype of the media. But I've been in business long enough to understand that when banks are ready to lend, you need to apply for it. You need to get approved for whatever you can get approved for, almost like as a cushion. And thankfully, for all these years, I've never had to fall back on that cushion. What I've done is what Chris talked about earlier. I've done balance transfers. I got a new line of credit at 0% for 12 months, and I balance transferred over a certain amount of money that I was paying 14% on, and I'm now paying 0% on that money. There was a minimal transfer fee that I paid, but the difference in the interest payment that I was paying and then the balance transfer fee I had to pay over the 12-month term at 0% far outweighed the interest that I was paying. So it made so much sense to move it there. And I think that's kind of, would you say it, Chris, it's kind of like the stuff they never taught us in school because they didn't want us to know how to do it?
Right. It's like,
That's how I
yeah, they brushed over it real quick.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they assume, or the way most stuff is taught is that most people are going to utilize things in the wrong way. But I mean, it literally makes sense. I mean, you took a debt that you was paying 14% to You moved it to another bucket, and now you're paying 0%. So every dollar you put into is a principal payment.
Correct.
You just saved yourself. You just added 14% positive cash flow to your balance sheet just by moving a zero from one set of numbers to a second set of numbers.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you never talked about I'm racking up a lot of debt and I'm skyrocketing out of control. No, I'm shifting my money and putting them into the buckets that are going to give me the maximum leverage. So at the end of the day, this is all about leverage, because every now and then you hear people talk about credit like, oh no, this is not run up. This is leveraging your credit, leveraging your score, and making calculated moves in order to maximize all of those, maximizing your cash flow, maximizing your credit score, maximizing the ability to get capital, the ability to weather a downturn in the market, so that you're not as emotionally invested in every bad news line or news flash that comes across the screen. And that's really where you want to try to kind of get yourself at. It's just changing, for some people, it's just changing the way they think. They always thought that cash is king, but I'm like, not so much. Cash in your bank cash in your bank feels good, but having that credit score and credit line is a much better feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I joked when I joked with the branch manager this morning, and he said that he was afraid to look at his own 401k. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I can't imagine what it's doing right now. It's like, wow, I'm not concerned about mine so much. And he said, well, I don't understand what you mean. I said, well, I'm actually the custodian of the trust that owns my 401k, and I have it where I know best to have my money. And it's actually cash sitting in your institution that you guys are lending every night. They laughed at me. I'm like, no, you're telling me your 401k just went spinning out into nowhere with the market. I don't have a dollar of my retirement in the market. And yet I do play within the market. I mean, I dip here and I dip there. I try to follow trends. I've made some good decisions. I mentioned earlier I made some bad decisions, but I am not willing to put my personal retirement. I'm not putting it in the market. It's a manipulated thing. I don't want to do that. But I got another question popped up. Chris, is your company considered a hard money lender?
I am a independent sales operation. I'm a broker, business consultant. Depending on the product, some products are more hard money, some aren't. It really depends. It basically goes like this: if you have terrible scores, you're going to pay for hard money. If you have great scores, you're going to get better rates.
And
just simple as
that. I'm pretty sure this is more of a real estate question that this person is asking, but what is hard money for those people that don't understand? What is considered hard money?
Extreme hard money could be 1% interest per month, 1 to 2% interest per month. Okay. Most of the programs I have on the real estate side, I got pretty fair rates. So let's say on my 30-year product and on an investor product, I'm probably about 6%. I could probably buy it down to 5%. Okay. Decent, most of our products are going to be under 10%. Some hard money lenders can be way, way higher than that. But
for me, but like on the real estate side, the hard money lenders I've talked to, I mean, if you're lucky, they're at 8 to 10%. The majority of them are like 12 to 15%, and they have a term limit usually of like 9 months. And then they're gonna, in addition to the 9 months they're charging you hard money, which is interest only, they're gonna charge you points
on top of it
on the percentage of what you sell that property for.
Yep.
They're gonna charge you, I don't know, 2 to 5 points sometimes. So if you sold a house for $100,000, you're going to owe them $2,000 to $5,000 in points, and you're paying them somewhere between 8 and 15% interest on those 9 months before you're able to rehab it. So yeah, that's hard money.
Right, and sometimes that can happen, but then when you really look at it, I mean, if you get, depending on the cost, depending on the profit in the project, it makes sense. When you're looking at rates in the non-traditional rate. We're not talking about going to Fannie Mae, VA, FHA, where we're giving you W-2s and pay stubs and I'm asking for your whole life story. Literally, we're talking about deals where I'm asking you a pro forma of real estate deals you've done in the past. Show me some assets. I'm taking appraisal. I'm taking a contractor's estimate. I'm taking an appraisal on what the house could be in the future with the repairs being done. And I'm getting a lender to lend to you and allowing you the ability to fix up that property to get it to the after repair value. So for the lender, and these aren't banks, these are, private individuals, these are private funds, that are doing these things. They're taking all that risk on the rehabber. And some rehabbers are great and some rehabbers aren't. So there's risk in it. So when it's hard, don't get the misunderstanding that it's a bad situation. It's just that you pay the rate you're going to pay is associated to the risk that the investor has to put up the cash for. So if I'm putting up the cash on a high risk scenario, I'm going to ask for more. I'm actually for more percentage. I'm actually for more points to offset my risk. So it's a risk equation, not necessarily a rate equation.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, once again, we've been on here for over an hour. But I mean, I think it's valuable information. I think a lot of people are kind of in the worry zone. I can't say I've been through this before. I've been through the 2008, 2009, 2010 market crash, but I haven't actually been inundated with information about if I were to touch something in public space and then accidentally wipe my mouth, I might contract
something.
Right. So, I'm not living in fear. As I've said, I'm not trying to be stupid. I'm limiting my exposure, my social exposure. I'm limiting what I can do. I've seen the posts and people reply and send me crazy messages. It's a hoax. It's a this, that, and the other. I personally believe if you think it's a hoax,
That's worse.
I hope this does not become, as far as in this country, in this, the East Coast even, San Francisco this morning quarantined the entire city of San Francisco, right?
Washington, the whole state.
Washington State, just be careful, man. I mean, there's nothing to prove. It doesn't make you more of a man or anything of that. If you're not comfortable going out, don't do it. It's like I see all these people saying, "Oh, I'm running down to the supermarket and I'm going here." You guys are potentially continuing to cross-contaminate each other because the vast majority there's a bunch of celebrities in the last 2 days that have none of the symptoms of the virus and have tested positive.
Right.
All right. You can believe the social media hype all you want. That's concerning that this virus is unknown. Like I made an example. I was talking to a customer this morning. I said, when you get sick, like really, really sick, where do you go? Oh, I go to my doctor. I said, well, why? Well, he knows what he's doing. I said, yeah, but you're not listening to the same doctor who just told you
just
not
stay home.
To do this stuff.
Well, not necessarily stay home, and I think that's kind of the wrong adage. But it's just like space yourself out. No one said you can't. No one said you can't walk the track, can't jump on a bike and ride the bike. Right now the cases aren't that supreme that you can't jump in your car and drive down River Road or drive down through 10 or something like that. I'm just not going to the go-go right now. I'm going to try to avoid that. Even with my barber, I'm like, I'm going to call you tomorrow. I need to know that you're going to be there so I can come in, get this haircut, and get out. And I still might not even go, depending on how I feel tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, I can wait another week or two for my haircut.
Yeah. You're going to be stuck at home. No one's going to
right. It ain't going to make a difference anyway. You know what I'm saying? But it's just little things. What I look for. But we still gotta look out for those beauticians and barbers. I mean, we understand that they need to work, but hey, I'm gonna make that extra phone call. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting in a packed barbershop like that ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
it's,
I mean,
it's like why play roulette when you don't have to?
right.
It's, it's
Right.
like, yeah, 9 times out of 10, there's no bullet in the chamber, but all you need is one bullet, and then then you're dealing with something. And again, it's not everybody at the end of the day is going to die from this, but it's just like,
Yeah.
why go through
No, but
that whole uncertainty without having it being necessary?
well, so without sounding like paranoid, right? Both of my parents, thankfully, are still alive. They're both in good health. They both are active, but they're both in their 70s, right? So how irresponsible would it be to me to operate and go out and potentially expose myself and then come in contact with them?
Right.
So that's the only thing I'm saying. Don't live in fear. I've seen guys taking flights out of state and there's nobody on the airplane and they really did have to go. And I get that, but maybe don't go see mom and dad for 2 weeks because you don't know what you've been in contact with when you took that risk to travel, right? So I think some people are kind of sensationalizing it and making fun of it, making jokes of it, but I just really hope they aren't potentially, adding to the detriment of elderly family member.
Of other people. Yep. And that's what we got to do. I mean, we just got to, if at the end of the day, we're looking out for each other. It's annoying. I mean, the economy's slowing down, but I mean, realistically, it's like, come on, we're talking about a 2 week not a 2 week vacation, but it's like, let's pause everything so they can at least get an idea of what we're dealing with. I'd rather see the cases in Maryland stay in the 50s than jump up to 700. You know what I mean? Because truthfully, we all know whatever number they're showing, it's a multiple higher. It's a multiple higher than that number.
That's the thing, is that's what they're able to report confirmed.
Right.
But I'm sure you know this. If I went to the hospital right now and said that I as from far as I know, I have not been in contact or not been anywhere remotely close to somebody with the virus, but I want to still get the test, they would actually deny it because I have none of the symptoms.
Yep, they say go home. Yep.
Right.
And after they say, and actually, everything you listen to today, if you felt like you had a slight cold coming on, they actually tell you to stay home too. I mean, unless realistically, they only want you to come in if you have a dire situation.
Right.
Outside of that, they're like, all right, stay home and ride it out. Because and I think everybody's seen on TV the little girl from Jersey. She caught it. She home. She's recovering. Like, she said she had some bad days, but it's like, we just gotta be smart. I just think that it will run its course. But at the end of the day, let's take these 2 weeks. Get to know our kids a little bit better. Get to know. If you're hunkered in with family, find out why y'all really like each other.
Right.
And then start working on your plan Bs, because this should be another testament that even if you think you got that good job, that things are uncertain. So just use this time wisely.
No, and it's really the point of me posting and going live tonight is for the hair salon, the stylist, the hair salon owner, the barber, the barbershop owner, is you have a window right now, right? Why not use some of Chris's programs and at least get qualified, at least get the ball rolling, because I know, Chris, you said you're going to be active whether you're stuck in the house or not. You're by the phone, you're in front of the email all day. Get the ball in place, get the stuff set up and structured, and then you have it if you need it in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months from now, to at least be able to hold on to what you've already built.
Right, and you're not losing everything. Yeah, so I want to keep doors open at the end of this. That's the whole idea. Let's keep your doors open. So if it's better to know where you stand than to walk around blindly and then feel like you're a victim. You don't have to be a victim in any circumstance. Find out where you're at and then come up with a plan that takes you to the next level. So that's what we're advocating for everybody.
No, and I can't believe we actually did this whole live right now, and I never even mentioned that I actually put the link to your program in the video description.
Yep. I'm www.arcbusinesscapital.com.
Yep. No. So that's his. Let me go back to it. Arc Business Capital.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yep. So anybody has questions, you want to do a one-on-one consultation, no charge for that. You can contact me at that number, 202-499-7610. You know, like I said, I'm here to help, and let's increase that cash flow. Let's be prepared for tomorrow. Let's be safe. At the end of the day, let's just continue to be safe.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%, man. Chris, I really do appreciate you coming on. Once again, sharing this, guys. If you have questions, concerns, what program works best, his website, the link is in the description below. And that's all I got, Chris. You got anything else?
No, I'm good. I mean, just everybody be good. Like I said, love each other just from afar. Hey, technology works. FaceTime, FaceTime grandma.
Exactly. Actually, my brother's 2 kids, it was funny. My niece called me on FaceTime yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never done FaceTime with her because I'm able to see her so much. She lives in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I don't know, like around 6 o'clock. She had just had dinner. She FaceTimed me. And she asked me if my mother, her grandmother, knew how to do it. And I said, I don't think she does, but she does have an iPad. She has an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should teach her how to do it. So I haven't talked to them today, but apparently my niece is 9 years old now. She's going to train my mother, her grandmother. Let's do it. Let's learn how to do it.
I mean, and literally with FaceTime, I mean, y'all could basically do a whole family chat. Like FaceTime now gives you the ability to add more people. So, so it's like, hey, I was telling my mother-in-law the same thing. I was like, you always say y'all don't know technology, but I said, this is time for seniors to learn something new.
Yeah, because they do not. I mean, we know this virus outbreak is very detrimental to the elderly people, and little kids are like, they're oblivious. They're like these little germ bombs that carry and they never get affected by it.
Right. So it's just like, that's all. It's like, hey, we just got to, we're smart. We stay vigilant.
Yeah.
We stay calm. I mean, I think that's at the end of the day. Stay calm. We ain't got to overeat. We ain't have to overspend. I mean, like I said, use lots of time to better yourself. This is time for self-improvement. If you're feeling anxious and all like that, go to YouTube and listen to some mindset tapes. There's a lot of guys out there, Les Brown, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just control what you put in your mind, because there is a lot of doom and gloom on the airways. So you have to counterbalance some of all that negativity with just positive things and get your mind working at a higher level. We're here to solve problems, not be paralyzed by a problem.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, we had one question just pop in. I think I know the answer for it, but go ahead.
I would say the slight exception could be California, because California is a little bit special on some of the things they do. But pretty much I do all 50 states. So yes, I should have a program. If it's a California deal, I can connect you with somebody out there that could help you make that happen.
Cool. Who was that? Siobhan, thanks for that last question. Cool, man. I will. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Everybody have a good night.
All right.